guys, Will Terry here, and this is the last video of the year. And I'm calling this one You Should Start a Draw Lunch. Wow, this year has gone by so fast. People say that every year, but it really has. Okay, so a couple things. I got my proofs back for my new book, Bonaparte Falls Apart. And man, it's looking so good. Anyway, I like to just update on things that are going on. I've got a few changes to make on those that I'll have to make this week and send out. Again, this book comes out probably sometime in August or September in 2017 coming up here. So, okay, so what is Draw Lunch? Well, here I took some video and we started a Draw Lunch. Well, Draw Lunch is basically where a bunch of artists get together. It could be illustrators. I mean, it could be any artist really that wants to get together and draw at lunchtime. And I'm just going to ask questions like how did it start? Thank you for asking. It started where there's a guy floating around here with a red shirt, and his name is Rodney, and I actually went to school with him when we went to art school back at BYU in the early 90s. And he is now an art director at an educational company, and great artist, and he used to work in animation. Now he does that art directing job. Anyway, he started it with some of his fellow coworkers as just a way to get some extra drawing practice in where they're drawing from life. So one of my questions was, where is it at? We chose to hold ours at the food court in the mall because it's centrally located and there's people that are just sitting eating and you can draw them. Let's see. So it started with Rodney kind of having his coworkers and then inviting like other people, other friends of those artists started finding out about it, and they started going over and then, are you going to Draw Lunch today? What is that? Started happening in our little art community, and pretty soon more and more people started showing up, and it kind of was organic, and that's one of the things I really like about it. Nobody owns it. It's just a thing. It just started. So who's invited? Well, in our group, we decided that everybody's invited. I guess until somebody makes a nuisance of themselves and gets uninvited, but anybody who wants to draw. So I bet you we've had somewhere close to 100 different people show up to Draw Lunch. Somewhere between, I'll bet it's somewhere around there. And not at every week, but we've had students all the way up to teachers at the college and at high school teachers, college teachers have shown up. We have professionals. We have people who want to get into it, who aren't working as illustrators or working as animators. We've had animators show up, illustrators, comic book people, children's book people, and we just show up. And another question that I have given myself is, how often do you have it? Well, we do it once a week, and it's basically just every Friday at the food court. And there is no schedule, and there is no agenda other than you just show up, and you don't have to even draw. You could just show up and eat, or show up and chat. You don't even have to eat. You don't have to draw. You don't have to do anything. You could show up and just sit there and look at people and be weird. I mean, like there's no organization to it. In fact, if we tried to organize it, it would probably ruin it. And one thing that we do is most people do buy lunch because that way we can't get kicked out. Right? It's like, and people look at us like, what's going on over there? There's like every Friday we're kind of at those tables. Now, I don't go every Friday. And most people don't go every week. There are some people who go most of the time, I'd say. When I'm in town or when my schedule permits, I try to go over there. I'll try to make it over there at least once or twice a month. Um, and that's the beauty of it. It doesn't have to be, there's no schedule. The fewest amount of people that I've seen there have been at our draw lunch have been probably maybe like 5 or 6 people. And the most I've seen is probably close to 25 people showing up, maybe even 30 on one day. And so that's kind of what it is and how we do it and everything like that. Why do we do it? That's a good question. Again, I'm glad you asked. Why do we do draw lunch? Why do I do it? I do it because it's lonely being in your studio alone, just working, and it's fun to get out and work on something else. Now, most of the time that I've gone, I've had projects to work on, so I just take my iPad and I just work on my own project. Other people are really into the drawing from life, which I think is really cool. And I should do more of that, but I usually always have something that I'm working on trying to get finished for something. And I just kind of, it's a way to take my work with me and work with other people. And another why is, and I've talked about networking before on this, on my YouTube channel, and how important it is to network. I can't tell you how many good things have come from networking with other artists. It's the reason I'm in business with other artists right now, with some of the things that I'm involved in, especially with svslearn.com, is from going to lunch with other artists and networking and being outgoing. So one question that I get asked a lot of times, is basically, what if I'm not outgoing? What if I have a hard time meeting people, or if I show up to something, I'm worried that I'm not going to fit in, that it's not going to work out. And I would say that's something it's really good to get over that. Okay. And I know you already know that, but the more you can kind of force yourself, it's like we horribilize. We think of the worst scenarios, the worst possible scenarios. And we kind of get loaded up for bear, and then those incidents usually don't happen. Our group is really eclectic. There are people from all political walks of life, all genders. There are people there from all different talent levels, people there that have completely different goals. There will be moms there that draw when they can, because their primary focus is raising their children right now. And everyone gets along, and everyone seems to, from what I see, because it keeps growing, it seems to just love it. And the thing that we all have in common at Draw Lunch is we all love making art, and that one thing brings everyone together. And then you end up talking about, we even have students that have just started, and they'll ask questions. They're there to get information a lot of times from people who have been doing it a long time, or people who are getting work. I've seen people give work to each other, kind of like network on projects that they're working on at Draw Lunch. Sometimes internships can be formed through. The connections are just amazing. So that's one of the reasons why we do it. Why I personally do it is I love to get out. It's a great excuse to get out. Why should you do it? Why should you try to start one in your area? And that's really what the title of this video is. For all the reasons that I've already mentioned, but maybe a better question for the title of the video is like, how do you start a Draw Lunch? We got lucky in that we have a mall that has a food court that's really close by and centrally located for a lot of the people out here. It's not centrally located for some people. Obviously, some people live out a half an hour away, and yet they'll still make the trip in sometimes just to kind of get that networking, because it's just really lonely in your studio by yourself. How and why should you start one? I think that if there aren't artists meeting your area, I'm sure artists on Facebook or on Twitter. that live close by. And one way of starting is just to grab 2 or 3 friends and start meeting once a month for lunch. And like, just because ours is every week, you know, I could, if I were starting one up, I would have probably set it for like the first Friday of the month or the last Friday of the month or something like that. Now, there are a lot of people who want to come to ours and they can't, and you know, because they have a job and they just can't get away for lunch. Some people do, you know, they'll zoom out of work, they'll stop in, they'll draw, they'll bring a lunch with them or something, and then they'll have to rush out. Ours usually lasts from, the earliest people will get there is around noon, and then people start leaving around 2:30. And some people who get there early will miss the people who came late. You know, it's a really kind of an organic thing. But I mean, I can't believe we hadn't done it until recently. Like this, we just recently started meeting other people then at Rodney's work group this year. And it's like, why didn't we think of doing something this earlier? Because it's just so much fun. And I also forgot to mention that in the video there, you were already seeing people who did a gift exchange. We traded art for Christmas this year. And the idea was, instead of a white elephant where you can steal other people's, you know, like The Office, Michael Scott, Yankee Swap style, which is basically designed to hurt other people's feelings, we made a rule that you just pick a number and you swap with the person you get the number with. No trades, no nothing like that. And just a fun way to get people we like to collect each other's art, right? Artists love to get someone else's sketches and stuff. And so it was something silly that we did. So anyway, yeah, I would really suggest like just starting with a few friends and meeting once a month, with the idea that as you meet other people, you're going to invite them to come and kind of start this group that kind of meets together. You'll be surprised at what things come from it. One of the things that we do is we use Facebook. We created a secret group. You know, there's these secret groups on Facebook, and we made a secret group, and we just listed people in our area because people around the world don't really want to get our updates. Hey, are you going to draw lunch? No, I'm not going to be able to go this week. But that's kind of how, like, if you don't want to make the trek across town worrying that nobody's going to show up, like if I were starting one myself right now and I didn't have that many people, I would start with once a month, and I would definitely start with a Facebook group, and I would definitely, you know, on Thursday or Wednesday or Thursday say, hey, who's going to draw lunch this week? Because if everybody's busy, then there's no point in going over there and eating by yourself when you could do that at home, right? So that's pretty much what we do and what it is. And I thought maybe I'd share that with you guys because maybe it'd be interesting if you hadn't thought of doing something that before. The area that I used to live in California, near Fresno, was void. I lived in a small town, but I had, for the years that we were living there, I had virtually no contact with the outside world art community. Like, the only way I knew other artists existed was online. And I know what that feels like. And I know that some of you listening right now are probably in that situation. But you can change that situation. There are other artists that would love to come to something like this that are around you. And you've got to be the catalyst, though. You've got to be the one to reach out, start with one other person, you and someone else, go to lunch, get a third person, and pretty soon, as you guys meet and invite other people, you'll get some pretty cool things out of it. That's all I have on this one. As always, do not subscribe unless you want to see more videos like this, and I'll see you on my next video.